Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about pacing and the way that how pacing works within a game. Because what I notice in a lot of games is people tend to have an issue when it comes to knowing how to play and when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive. So I'm gonna divide it into passive and aggressive pacing and kind of the middle ground in between. So when we come in terms of pacing, we have the passive side of it. And you have this both on defensive and offensive. When it comes to defensive, this comes in terms of, let's say you're playing Dust 2 Long A. You come to pit side, and all you're going to do is you're going to wait for any pushes that may come out from long, any flashes, anything like that. You make the callouts for your team, or you're going to be retaking for A site from here. You're not really going to be doing anything other than maybe rotating back to A site, rotating to A, rotating to B through CT. You're not really going to be doing anything in terms of pushing, though. It's purely defensive, and it's more reactionary than not. Because what you're doing is you're letting the T sides dictate what they want to do, and then you react off of it. It is often good to use a passive setup when you know the enemy team is going to be hitting A, for example, because then you can set it up to how you want. They seem like they're setting up the pace, but you're countering it by playing how you want to play. Now, the other side to it for passive is on offense. So a passive offense is more along the lines of, the CT side is going to be pushing long. So all you're going to be doing is waiting for the push. This can come in forms of if they're going to be pushing cat, pushing tunnel, pushing any way, you're waiting for the push, and the most that it'll ever go towards in terms of being the other side is you're going for a pick. You might be peeking towards long, and you fail to get the pick, and you fall off. Or you go towards mid, and you try to get a pick mid, and you fail it, and then you got to back off. Or if any other means necessary, right? The whole goal behind being passive on the aggressive side, on the T side, is to be waiting for a push, going for a pick, and then just setting up in general till you do some type of execute. Maybe a side execute where you're on cat, and you set up for smokes, where you throw a smoke close, you have two people jump over to CT, and the rest push out cat. And then what you do is you push out from there. That is a passive side, T-side play. Now, what we have on the flip side is aggressive. So if we were going to take the T-side for aggression, that is more towards something along the lines of being aggressive on spawns. So if I have a really good B spawn, and I notice the rest of my team has a really good B spawn, we're going to rush towards B site. Now, the issue that comes with this type of play is that while you're rushing, you're really dependent on the enemy side as well. But if you get a good B spawn and potentially beat them into B, that's a game changer right there. That's why they call it rush B strats, right? It's all based off of the spawns that you have. Or if you have the good long pick, you go for the long pick then. And then you can run towards long, you get the pick. And it's a lot more in your face. This isn't in terms of just being properly getting the right spawns, but this is more towards also the key factor that you're playing aggressive and you're going purely towards timing. This means you got to be efficient everything you can, and maybe you can beat cat first. Maybe at the start of the round you spawn and you won round one. You won the pistol round. So then you think to yourself, okay, we won the pistol round, we can buy. They're not going to have anything, maybe a scout at best. I'm going to rush through suicide, straight up to cat, and straight onto A site. That is an aggressive play, an aggressive pacing that's going to throw the CTs off. And the reason why this is important is because if you can throw the CTs off, there's many times where I can push straight up cat and get onto A site because they're not expecting it because they all went long, is because then you're going to condition the enemy to the pacing that you want. If they think you're going to be aggressive, they're going to throw their mollies early onto cat, playing passive. And then they're going to blow their utility earlier, which gives you the advantage towards the end of the game. So pacing is key. For defensive side, for CT side, offense means, let's again go to the example where you're playing long pit. So you're playing towards long right now, and you're holding. And you're hearing that there's enemies towards tunnel, and there's enemies towards mid. What it basically means is you're going to push up towards long, and you're going to make your aggressive play. So maybe that means you're going to be walking it, maybe that means you're going to be running it. But what it means is you're going to be pushing, you're going to be gathering information for your team, taking every point that you can for your team, and get as much information as you can. Maybe you don't get a kill, but if you push to upper mid and you see nothing, then it's going to be a B execute or they're all on cat. So aggression on CT side is purely you're pushing based off of the information you hear. Instead of playing reactionary, you're taking the game into your own hands. So those are the two different ways to play passive aggressive for both defense and offense. Now the key to note is you can't play one specific style. You can't be starting every single game out on CT side or T side and you decide, okay, I'm just going to wait for them to push 24/7. Because what's going to happen is most of the time, not all the time, players are going to notice, hey, this guy, T-side's not pushing if they're playing CT side. T-side's not pushing, that means we can save our nades. Same thing on CT side is if CT side's always pushing because they know you're always playing passive, they'll stop because they know they're waiting for you and they can play passive. So you need to add a variety to it. You need to some rounds add up aggression where you're going to do quick flashes out long or you're flashing over and you're jumping straight out. And that way what's going to happen is as you're pushing straight out and you're taking long control, is that CT side is going to be like, okay, they're rushing straight out. We're going to send 3 or 4 people long. We're going to throw Molotovs long and we're going to stop their push. Now maybe you die one round to it, but what you can do after that is play either a lot more passive, change up your aggression from long to going towards B site or going towards mid through cat. And that gives you the ability to have an advantage because you've trained them in a specific way. You set a pattern, you set a specific pace that they're used to. Or the other flip side is if you're always playing passive and they're starting to rush through it, well then you can counter it. So let's say you're always playing passive and they're always pushing through long. Well, what you can do now is like, okay, they're always pushing through long, let's be aggressive to B. And you can overwhelm B site as your whole team's pushing through straight onto B site. A variety is key for T side. For CT side, the difference in variety also makes a big deal. Again, if you're playing long side A and you're hiding in pit right now, it's great if you're always playing passive. Maybe you're always getting the retakes off, but eventually they're going to adapt around it and they're going to realize, hey, we have to kill this guy that's playing inside pit because he's always screwing us over. So the way that you're going to make the adjustment is, okay, on CT side, you realize, hey, they're starting to get clever. They're starting to get wise to me hiding in pit. Thus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play aggressive. You're going to change it up. So maybe they push through cat because they know you're going to hide in pit. And maybe they don't even challenge you. They just ignore you. They find a way to neutralize you with a smoke wall. Or maybe just they throw flashes constantly over. If they're able to delay you in pit, then take the fight to them. Maybe you know their timings. They push around a minute and 10 seconds onto cat. So then you can start pushing behind it. The change in pace will throw off your opponent. And just that small little tip, if you change it up, some rounds you play aggressive and some rounds you play passive, will change the way that the game is played entirely. So at the very end of the video, I like to do a little nade showing something that can help you within your games. For this one, it's going to be on Dust 2 Cat. And all you have to do is if you can get to cat quickly, either through a boost or you just run through cat normally. All you're going to have to do is once you know no one's rushing out cat, you pull out your smoke, throw low against this railing, right against that, and it's going to smoke off upper cat. This will allow you to push up on cat and look towards lower, peek towards mid, and get some mid control. This is a very good way to add some spice to your CT sides and able to get aggressive picks that you usually couldn't get otherwise.